All right, it's going live. All right, you're live. Let me just make sure. We are live. I'm just making sure of audio. Sure. Oh, wait, I'm not on Wi-Fi. All right, we are good.
All right, good evening, everybody. We're going to call to order. Sorry, we're a few minutes late. All right, good evening, everybody. We're going to call to order. Sorry, we're a couple minutes late. Statement. All right, good evening, everybody. New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies, at which time any business affecting their interests is discussed and acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this Act and Board of Education Policy 0162, the Board of Education of the Borough of Bound Brook has caused notice of this meeting to be posted in the board office and at Bound Brook High School and mailed or faxed to the Courier News, Bound Brook Borough Clerk, South Bound Brook Board of Education, and any person who has requested individual notice and paid the required fee. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Gorski, a roll call, please. Yes, sir. Mr. Bell.
Here.
Mr. Johnson. Ms. Casino.
Here.
Ms. Lima. Mr. Zupko. Here. Ms. Mooson. Mr. Minhas.
Here.
Ms. Hyde.
Here.
Mr. Volmer. Here. And Mr. Januzzi. Here. Mr. Board President, you have a quorum present this evening. Thank you very much. For my president's comments tonight, I will try, as always, to be brief. Just want to say welcome back to all of our staff and administrators who are joining us here tonight. It's great to see you all and hope you're having a great start to the new school year. For my Board of Education members, I want to thank you for enduring my absence last month. And for some really great committee meetings earlier this week. I know it takes a lot of time for us to get through all the materials, but I was really impressed with the amount of positive updates that we had to receive and share, and just how much progress is being made on both sides of the aisle. So thank you again for that. And that goes for our members who are both here and not here this evening. So Joanna, unfortunately, is under the weather, and Sydney had another obligation. They've both tendered their committee reports. Share those when we talk in a minute. For now, I'm going to hand off to Dr. Freeman for this report.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good evening, everyone, and welcome back to our September board meeting. We're very close to finishing our second full week of school. We had the exception of a few hiccups that could be expected during opening days. We had a very smooth opening. I want to thank our administrative team, our teachers, our staff for making that possible, because without them, it wouldn't be. And I'm looking forward to a very successful year. Tonight, we don't have any teacher or student awards, but we'll begin that next month, and we're looking forward to it. And that's it for my.
Very good. At this point, do we want to go to Dr. Mormon for his presentation?
I think we have our student rep to the board present, so we can turn it over to.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
My report's kind of long today, but I'll try to do it chronologically. This past summer, with summer school, most students finished and were able to recover their credits. Meanwhile, many seniors came in for English and math portfolios, with at least 30 students attending, and they allowed for extra elective courses for seniors. CCRN, managed by Ross and some of the other teachers at the high school, have been offering the students help with their college applications and SATs and FAFSA and all of that financial stuff. Along with this new school year, there's been new special programs that have been instated at RVCC. These include advanced manufacturing, mechanical engineering, makeup design / artistry, and healthcare, all of which have seen a lot of success so The freshman orientation went well with guest speaker Nikki Francis giving a speech about the toolkit for success, which is designed to introduce middle and high school age students to ideas that can help them increase their skills in decision-making, conflict resolution, positive coping skills, and understanding their feelings. In terms of our teams, both sport and non-sport, boys soccer are currently at a 3-2 win-loss record, and their next game is away against Manville tomorrow. Football got their first win last Friday against South River they also have 2 losses so far, with their next game at home being against Voorhees on Friday, with Miss Casino managing the football social media account. Girls tennis is at a 1 win, 6 losses, with their next game against Warren Hills tomorrow. Girls volleyball is also at 1-6, with their next game at home against Burnhams. The cross country team has reportedly had the best performance they have since pre-COVID, multiple athletes showing potential for competitions beyond sectionals. And robotics are currently planning for a showcase at the Bridgewater Mall on September 30th and October 1st for people of all ages. The college fair, which is colleges from all over the state come to Bound Brook to showcase themselves as students, is on October 23rd. Same thing with the career fair for November 15th. And in terms of the future, Mr. Ross is planning to meet with all 150 seniors to discuss their future plans. And Mr. Smith and I are currently developing an idea of professional development.
It's a great idea. That's an awesome report. Thank you very much for sharing. Any questions from the members? Oh, just asking if anybody has any questions on your report, that's all.
Nice job.
It's great. Yes, thank you very much. All right, should we have Dr. Mormont do this now?
Dr. Mormont?
That's going to be a tough report to follow.
Uh-huh.
I'll do my best. Hello, everybody. Okay, so school year 22-23 report on harassment, intimidation, and bullying, vandalism, and violence. We'll start with HIB. Could everybody hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
So last year, 22-23, our numbers were similar to the year before, especially in investigations. Of those investigations, we had about 11 more confirmed incidents of HIB than the year previous. You guys remember 2021 was the year of the pandemic where we were not in school for the entire year. So that's our totals. School by school, at the high school, the numbers were very similar from the year before, 21 investigations, 12 confirmed. At community, investigations were down from 31 to 26, but we had more confirmed cases of HIB than the year before, 15 to 10. Okay, that's Smalley. So both investigations and confirmed went up a little bit from the year before. And then I put Lafayette and Lamont Annex on the same because their numbers are so few. We did have an investigation at Lafayette last year, the first one in a few years, but it came out to be not a confirmed case of HIB. Last year was our first year one last thing on HIB, with the Hipster program, which did a good job of streamlining our process, kept us on target with deadlines, and it allowed us to communicate building to building, all the way up to Dr. Freeman and to the board. So that was a good addition for the district. Okay, now I'm going to move on to violence and vandalism. At the high school, we went down significantly from 49 the year before to 30 last year overall. Acts of violence went down by 10. Vandalism went down. Substances went down. We eliminated weapons altogether last year. It was a good year overall at the high school. Community, 26 incidents total, a little more than the year previous, 21. 6 incidents of violence, same from the year before. 0 incidents of vandalism. 3 incidents of substances, up 1 from the year before. Weapons were doubled, 2 from 1, and then the HIV. Also, community had 25 other incidents that led to student removal, which is down from the year before. Okay, Smalley had 0 across the board last year. And HIB, again, Smalley had 15 total. Had 5 acts of violence, which is the same as the year before. 1 act of vandalism. And then 2 other incidents that led to student removal, which is the same as the year before. And then nothing again at Lamont Annex, the same as the year before. Questions?
Thank you, Dr. Lamont.
You're welcome.
Anybody have any questions?
I have a question about the student removal. It says other incidences, but that is not including the vandalism, violence,
Correct.
right? So those are
Incidents other than
separate from.
what you saw above.
Quick question.
Yes,
I don't know if you can answer it or Dr. Freeman or somebody
I
else.
could try.
These are all the incidents that have been reported. What's the estimated number of incidents that have not been reported? Is there an average estimate?
I could take a try. We are required to report every incident of HIV, violence, and
But that's
vandalism.
only that's been reported. I'm talking about those that are not been reported. Because
You mean haven't been reported to,
to either,
Right.
yeah, that has not been reported up to the administration.
that you don't ever hear about?
Yeah, that you'll never hear about.
So it's hard to quantify something that hasn't been reported. Are
Right.
there maybe any industry norms on how those are estimated?
Not to my
Probably nothing.
knowledge.
It's tough to know what you don't know. I know what you're saying though.
Question. Overall, the numbers look good. What do you attribute the improvement to?
Especially at the high school.
That's
It's huge and huge.
So Mr. Smith and his administrative team did a great job last year with condensing study halls, which allowed him to free up teachers from being in charge of a study hall class, and instead he was able to put them in the hallways. Our student rep is nodding, specifically by the bathrooms.
Right.
So, in my opinion, that went a long way. The hallways were quieter. You know, it was great for our numbers. In addition, quiet hallways are great for teaching.
So my question is, are you seeing any trends, of those 15 cases, 21 cases, whichever? Are you seeing trends
In the violence and vandalism,
Well, yeah, and then the hips.
I could only answer for Hibbs because that's, sorry, that's my area. That's my area. I don't know about violence and vandalism. But Hibbs, I would say the trend as, as I've been reporting to you guys monthly is, the social media, bullying. And then we do have that was nice of you. Thank you. You don't have to do that. And also, what happens in the larger areas in lunch, in gym class, where it's harder to manage the larger number of students.
I'm gonna give my 2 cents. Actually, it's not a question, but more of a compliment to the entire team. For the size of our district, these numbers being where they're at, I am blown away at how proficient and how professional all of our staff in every building, administrative from Dr. Freeman all the way down, have been in dealing with issues. And I have to say, working in a large district myself, we face a lot of challenges. And I'm very, very, I can't tell you, if someone who doesn't work in education looks at these numbers, they say, oh my goodness, when you look at the amount of children we have in the district and to only have, less than 30, I'm looking at community right now, less than 30 incidents. Now, 1 incident is too much, right? But less than 30. I want to commend each principal, and I thank you. And I know that the board thanks you. So,
Thank you. Thank you. Furthermore, Ms. High's question, as far as trends go, I just thought of another trend as far as how the principals deal with the Hibbs as well as the areas of violence and vandalism. I think their approach with students is completely remediation based rather than punitive. We're getting less repeat offenses.
And that's something I've noticed too, that there is this, just the mediation with the guidance counselors and often with the kids too. And that's where it's going to make a difference. And I have to tell you, being in a different school district, I saw the 77, I was like, oh, that's high for the high school. So I thought, and that was all combined. So now with the breakdown, it's like the numbers, the lack of numbers are impressive.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments?
All right, thank you.
Nice job. Thank you.
Thank you.
job.
All right, guys, at this point, we are up to committee meeting reports. Try and tackle them in order if that's okay. So the first one is Mr. Dawson's report from education, which I will read for everyone. So like everybody else, we met on Monday, and our discussion really centered around for multilingual learners, ages 18 to 21. This was a conversation that was led by Ms. Heisterman. Heisterman, thank you.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, my mic doesn't work. Are you having trouble hearing me?
Yeah, but
It's okay. So we were thankful to have Mrs. Griffin and Ms. Heisterman come and have a discussion with us regarding best support for our multilingual learners, specifically ages 18 to 21. We do have some programming that we're currently offering as required up until the age of 21, but we've known from prior discussions that students that are coming into the district later in their educational careers may have a more difficult time both acclimating and then acquiring the information that they need to really graduate. So for the coming year, roughly 18 to 20 students have been identified as part of this population that may struggle to stay on pace to graduate before they attain the age of 21, at which point they're outside the scope of the program. So they walked us through a few different options that they had considered and presented one path that they were intending to pursue that had to do with an alternative program that would make ESL instruction available to them at different times outside the regular school day, but with more structure and with more focus to hopefully allow them to get through the program and attain their GED. So the committee was strongly endorsing the program that was presented, and we are hopeful that over time, with a number of other supports that the team is planning, that we'll be able to better serve this particular population and hopefully improve our overall performance in terms of graduation rates. It was a very spirited discussion, and I think that actually took us well beyond 30 minutes, so that is really all that we discussed during education. Any questions?
Okay, governance will be quick. New policies, which are both mandated by law, so there's really nothing to discuss on our end there. One of them has to do with the development of school threat assessment teams by districts. They're now mandating exactly how that has to be done. The other, if you haven't heard, is a law that was passed by the New Jersey legislature a couple of weeks ago, stating how sick leave can be used. They've changed how people in education, well, I guess all public employees maybe, can use sick leave. You can now use it to care for sick family members. Like if your kids are sick, you can use it to attend your kids' conferences at school, things like that. So as I said at the meeting, being a teacher, the real only difference is that now teachers won't lie when they have to take care of their sick kids. They can actually be honest about it, because let's be real, if my kids are sick, I'm staying home and saying it's me. So we don't have to do that anymore. The other thing that we very briefly discussed was how we plan to approach the strategic plan, which is up at the end of this school year. Dr. Freeman agreed to get us a couple of proposals, one of which will be from school boards. There are other companies that do it, so we're going to get one from another company as well and see what each one has to offer and which way. We also talked very briefly about our desire to get as many stakeholders from our school community as possible involved in that strategic plan and kind of hear from them what goals they'd like to see in there and what they think we need to improve on so that we can put it into the plan. So that was really all we talked about, mostly, as you said, because education did run long. So we tried to stay on schedule, but luckily we didn't have much this month anyway. Any questions for me? All right then. Next.
Well done, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're on HR,
Yeah.
and that's you again.
Is it?
It's not me.
So Joanna's report for the HR committee, as with all of the HR meetings, we started by reviewing the open positions and transfers from within the district, really just to go through the plans for the administration and to kind of affirm how our coverage was, both for the teaching and staff in general, and how we were performing relative to the budget or any positions that needed to be altered or adjusted. In support of trying to fill our open positions, we will be hosting a career fair in conjunction with ESS, and we're going to do it here in Bound Brook. It should be mutually beneficial because it'll have the opportunity to either attract people into or from the Bound Brook community that may be willing and able to help us in schools, which is great. And hopefully we can continue to mine additional candidates and fill out open positions. We talked a little bit about the special education program in general, how that is staffed, what opportunities we might have to, adjust how we're resourced there in order to both better support community members or CST members and really fulfill the mission of that group, which we know has been under a lot of stress for the past few years. So we got some positive news there. And the last discussion that we had to do with the content supervisors. So based on some work that was done over the summer, we started to understand how much more work has actually become the responsibility of the existing supervisors. So just noting that we would need to take a look at that and potentially address anything from an HR perspective that may have accrued over time just based on need. And that is it for our HR related discussions. Any questions? Okey-dokey. Roger, you're right.
Thank you. So operations, let me begin by saying I have not been to such a proactive, complex operations meeting that was held in a while. And I want to thank Mr. Gorski tremendously for explaining a lot of the intricacies that I'm going to try to go forward. Mr. Gorski, at any time you feel that you need to chime in,
Please.
I want to do service to the hard work that you've presented. So Bound Brook submitted, we first started talking about ROD grant applications. Bound Brook submitted 14 ROD grant applications to the state, totaling around $11,436,000. It appears that only the boiler replacements were approved. There were bathroom renovations, roof upgrade costs, security projects, they were not approved. One of the issues that was raised by members was why some districts, some similar districts, receive greater than a 40% reimbursement. Mr. Gorski, can you explain that a little bit to the board so they understand that part?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Zupko. School districts receive the reimbursement for ROD grant costs. And generally, the average is about 40%, but it's based on state aid percentage to your total revenues. And Bound Brook was somewhere slightly above 60%. And there were some districts that were similar to Bound Brook that got greater than 40% reimbursement, more in line with their state aid ratios. But Bound Brook received 40%. And we're basing this off of the general announcement that went out, but we don't have the actual letter yet from the state, nor the preliminary eligible cost letters. So we had invited the architect of record, Mr. Rich Alderiso, to the operations committee meeting, and he explained that we should be patient, we should wait for the actual award to come in the mail from the state. There's a chance that they could correct what's been previously reported, and if not, he will certainly reach out and appeal on our behalf. Because the more the state reimburses us for the project, obviously, the less we have to put on the tax bill.
Thank you, sir, appreciate that. So that was the ROD grant part of the meeting. We also talked about the IRS response to notice of a prior year payroll tax penalty. So Mr. Gorski notified the committee that despite a thorough and well-written response requesting an abatement for new clause of IRS penalty assessments for improperly or late paid federal taxes going back to 2020 through 2021 and 9 months of, and that through 2020, 2021, after 9 months of IRS time extensions that our request was denied, Mr. Gorski recommended to the committee to appeal the ruling with the assistance of the district's auditing firm's tax attorney. The fee for such as it's not cheap, but I think that the fee will be well worth it because I think that the abatement is something that we definitely need to look at, and the committee concurred. Another thing we talked about was a technical assistance infrastructure services agreement from MOX 5 IT. That was recommended by all the professionals assisting the district with a security incident for additional services that may be considered upgrades to the district server and IT infrastructure. So the committee recommended the item for board consideration. We also talked about purchasing manual and student activity manuals. Mr. Gorski presented to the committee a significantly revised purchasing manual and student activity account manual. We also talked about a quote for a change order for electrical wiring at Swally. We also talked about the New Jersey Department of Health and Safety evaluation of school building checklists. Basically, our checklists were brought up to date. Mr. Gorski presented completed school facilities checklists for each building as required annually by the department. We also had an issue. Mr. Gorski, can you, the acronym PEOSH?
It's an organization that deals with occupational health and safety for public employees. And there was an anonymous complaint to PEOSH about the temperatures in the district athletic field house. And we had a surprise visit from a PEOSH inspector. And overall, he was very satisfied with Mr. Molina and my responses. But the state of New Jersey is now requiring a heat illness prevention plan from school districts. So we're one of the first that had to prepare such a plan. And with the help of our occupational engineer, Dr. Richard Lynch, we put together a plan that is feasible, that we can actually accomplish, and that will better protect staff and students going forward.
Thank you, sir. Finally, the last part of the meeting, where he talked about a change order. Mr. Gorski presented change order number 7 pertaining to additional proposed work by former architectural firm ERG. The committee carefully reviewed all of the work contained within the change order, but very reluctantly recommended the item as an action item for tonight's consideration. The committee expressed their dissatisfaction with the number of change orders and the costs for this project. And I can't say that the entire meeting, that capped off a very interesting meeting. I'll leave it at that. Other than that, Mr. President, I don't have any other operation notes. If anyone has any questions.
Great, thank you, Roger. Any questions for Roger on operations? I do just want to highlight one other operational related item. You'll also find this on the agenda tonight. It's item number 9.11. One of the other projects that we have going on right now regarding HVAC renovations at Swally School, we had received initially a change order in committee for consideration, and we requested some additional work be done by the administration. And I just want to give some kudos to the business team and Mr. Molina as well, because they were able to cut that change order down from $38,000 to about $14,500. So, I think part of the discussion that we had regarding change orders was how some of these costs start to accumulate over time, and there may be the need for us to go seek outside help or be able to be more creative. And I'm just thankful that we have a team that's willing to be able to do that.
Well, and just to piggyback off that, we have a team that's interested in how our taxpayers are being affected by these multiple change orders. So that was very appreciated for that to be the case. So again, Dr. Freeman, excellent. Your team is was right on target with everything. So the board appreciates that. Thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments on operations? All right. Are we up to Ms. Guzino on the extracurricular ad hoc?
Sure. Yeah, our meeting wasn't quite as long. I don't have as long of a notes list as Roger does, but I think what's kind of cool about these ad hocs is that we're learning a lot and things are progressing. So it's more about getting to know what's going on and learning a little bit more about status. Mr. Steele came and shared with us some really good insights from the athletic coaches, the people leading their teams, both positive feedback and some negative feedback. I think it's great that we're able to take a look at this and really kind of get an overall insight as to how things are going throughout the different sports organizations and figure out how we can collaborate, cross-communicate, get coaches that are doing best practices in one area, helping other coaches that might be able to use that best practice. We also talked a little bit about strength and conditioning and how important that is for all of our athletes across the board, and looking into ways we can work with that. I know when it comes to the athletic facilities, space and size has been an issue in the district. Working and organizing all we have in the district on the fields and the spaces that we have, we realize that it's not always super seamless, that we do have coaches coming off, older coaches are going on. We employ that, if we can communicate and collaborate as best we can, right now that's the best approach. And I think what we're seeing is the coaches, at least in this fall season, are doing a really good job of sharing the spaces and using them together. But we can continue to look into other ways or other spaces that might be available down the road. The other issue that came up was transportation. Mr. Steele had shared with us that, we've got teams going to different locations, playing at different schools. We need transportation to get those athletes to those places. So we'll look into different opportunities and options that we have with transportation, whether it's collaborating two teams with a bus group of some sort or getting more transportation. So more to come, but we're learning a lot from the feedback that we're getting.
Excellent job, Lisa. Any questions for Lisa? For my part, the only thing that I would add, and I thought you did great because you summarized up kind of on the athletic side, we've really coalesced around 3 ideas of things that the board and the administration really could be doing to clear a path, and this relationship between our desire to grow the number of programs and the participation in the programs versus some of these constraints. So, as it pertains to things like facility limitations or transportation, those may be elements that you see in future board meetings or likely creeping into our long-range planning as we go through that activity later this year.
Yeah, definitely. But it was good, really good discussion.
All right.
Mine is the shortest report because
Neat.
it wasn't me.
All right.
Thanks.
Actually, they meet every other month, and the next meeting will be October 4th.
Great. Thanks.
Well done.
All right. At this point, we are up to item number 5. Sure. We are open to the public for agenda items only. So in accordance with district policy 0167 that governs public participation in board meetings, members of the public must sign in at the podium or online, provide their name, address, and group affiliation if applicable. Just noting that public participation is limited to 3 to 5 minutes in duration, and no participant may speak more than once on the same topic until all others who wish to speak on that topic have been heard. Do we have anyone from the audience tonight that would like to make a comment? I see no one rushing to the podium. Tom, when you have a chance, can you check online?
I always get this wrong. Agenda items
Yes,
first.
this is agenda first.
I always get it wrong. I am seeing none online.
Okay.
Thank you. So we are now up to item number 6. Yeah, printed copy is a little long. I don't actually have a statement.
Yeah, there's nothing in there.
So I'm gonna try and make one up on the fly and say, be it resolved, Board of Education approves the meeting minutes from our last public meeting. This would have been, do we have a date of the last meeting?
Excuse me, we're still working on those things.
Okay,
We'll present those and this meeting minutes.
very good. So no minutes to approve this evening.
That's why there's no number 6.
I got you.
All right.
So we have no number 6. We'll move right to 7.1. Thank Be it resolved that the superintendent recommends for approval the resolutions as outlined in district personnel resolutions. This is 7.2 through 7.51. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Mr. Ballard. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Zupko. Any discussion?
Question on 7.15 and 7.42.
Okay.
So is it my understanding there's gonna be two individuals taking this?
So
And it was care workshop?
I had the same question. It was actually workshops delivered by district personnel, but they addressed two different audiences.
Thank you. Okay. And then, the other question is, 7.19, the conference request. Am I reading it right? That's $2,200 for the conference.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
And that's just for,
This is for personnel. We have Samantha serving in that position. She's going to get some additional training to reinforce what she does, because she's acting at this point.
okay.
So there should be some professional development. So that's the cost, but you can see it is, it ends up in a certificate.
Oh, okay.
So it's very worth.
Yeah, it is.
Worth.
Yeah. Thank you.
Very well, sir. Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, can we have a roll call, please, Mr. Corsi?
Yes, Mr. Januzzi, if I may, just on the floor for a second before we take the roll call. One of the personnel action items tonight is the retirement of Mr. Milanoff. He served as the district IT director for about 15 years, correct me if I'm wrong. In the approximate year that I've worked with Mr. Milanoff, it's been my pleasure to get through some complex IT issues. He served the business function of the district with the highest professionalism, and I wish you the very best.
Thank you, Mr. Corsi.
Just so you know, we're gonna ask you to come back in December so we can really celebrate.
All right, roll call, when you're ready, sir.
Mr. Bell,
Yes.
Ms. Casino,
Yes.
Mr. Zupko,
Yes.
Mr. Minhas,
Yes, sorry.
thank you. Ms. Hyde,
Yes.
Mr. Ballmer,
Yes.
and Mr. Januzzi.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. We are way down the page. Up to item 8.1. Be it resolved that the Bound Board of Education approves the resolutions as outlined in district education resolutions. It's 8.2 through 8.20. I have a motion.
Motion.
Thank you, Mr. Ballard, second.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Hyde. Any discussion? Hearing none, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Bell,
Yes.
Ms. Casino,
Yes.
Mr. Zupko,
Yes.
Mr. Minhas,
Yes.
Ms. Hyde,
Yes.
Mr. Ballmer. Yes. Mr. Januzzi.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item 9.1, be it resolved that the Bound Board of Education approves the resolutions as outlined in board action resolutions. This is 9.2 through 9.29. Thank you, Mr. Bell. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Mr. Bell, second.
Second.
I'm gonna give it to Mr. Minhas. Any discussion? Ty goes to-
Item 9.4, the nursing services plan.
Okay.
Two questions about the plan. For one, when I briefly looked it over, there was a mention of HIPAA. To my understanding and to my knowledge, HIPAA does not apply to schools and school nurses because it's not a health entity. However, FERPA does, and I do see mention of FERPA, so is it just, we're mentioning HIPAA just because it's a commonly used term?
No, I'll tell you what, this report is something that is put to the board for approval each year, so it's a standard report. So if you want to find out exactly why they use it, I'll find out.
And then the other question is, it's a well put together plan, but I didn't see anything regarding, the plan for special needs kids or disabled kids or anything of that nature.
Okay, so let me look at it and I'll get back to you.
So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Minhas. Any other questions?
Yeah, just thank you we got several donations in here this month. So thanks to everyone for those donations. See, we had the Oak Tree Project, the backpacks. There was a third one as well. Kids in Need, yes, you got supplies.
The generosity is certainly appreciated. Thank you for highlighting that, Mr. Lau. Any other comments, questions? Okay, hearing none, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Bell,
Yes,
Ms. Casino,
Yes.
Mr. Zupko.
Yes.
Mr. Minhas.
Yes, to everything except that for.
And how do you vote on 9.4?
I'm gonna abstain for now because it's taking that back.
So Ms. Hyde,
Yes.
Mr. Ballmer,
Yes.
Mr. Janussi,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you. We are now up to other matters to come before the board. I do not believe we have any. And so we are open for new business. If there's anything that the committee members would like to discuss now before we open the floor to the public. All right. So we will close that item and we are now open to the public. This will be for general comments or questions not on the agenda, and subject to the same stipulations and limitations that I read out earlier. I see we have no questions from the room. Do we have any online?
We do not.
Very good, no questions on. For this evening's meeting, we actually do not have any HIV cases to review. So we don't have a need to go into executive session unless there is something confidential that meets the requirements and the board or a member of the board would like to discuss. All right. So at this point, we are up to item 16.1 and I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
motion.
Thank you, Mr. Bowell, second.
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 Thank you, Mr. Zupko, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Right. That's correct.